Hey guys, my name is Ben, and these are my top 10-ish albums of 2017. I'm yet again trying out new formats and stuff. You guys let me know which you like. Do you prefer this format, or do you prefer what I did for last year's discussion on top 10s, or even the year before that? Experimenting, always trying to find the best way to possibly present these sorts of things to you guys. So let me know what you think. But without further ado, let's get into number 10, and it has got to be Joey Badass with All American Badass. Just an incredible album. Really politically charged. If you don't like politically charged music, then you're not going to like this album, because that is the album. It is very focused on social commentary, political commentary, of course, and just the state that America is in. You might think the KKK in the title is just super edgy and stuff, but no, it represents what he's talking about on this album, and the problems with white supremacy and stuff in America, and the kind of recent kind of rise in that, or at least that being more brought to light, sadly, as the year has gone by. And this was released actually quite early in the year in comparison to most other politically charged music, and it still does a fantastic job. You can still listen to it today. It doesn't feel outdated already, even though the political landscape is moving so fast nowadays. And yeah, it's just really fucking good. Joey Badass, as usual, great lyricist, great flows, a lot of variety in his flows, and just the beats, the production just gets better and better. Wonderful variety. It's a thinking man's album. You know, it's not super fast-paced, going to hit you with a lot of bangers straight away or anything like that. It is slow burner, and a great one at that. And I gotta say, sharing the number 10 spot, I know that's a little weird, and some might even call it blasphemy, because it's Kendrick Lamar's Damn. And yeah, there's nobody that is more surprised about how high this is on my list than me. I thought, new Kendrick Lamar one? Probably going to be my favourite of the year, because it's Kendrick Lamar. I think he's the absolute best rapper alive at the moment. Possibly the greatest of all time, who knows. But Good Kid, Mad City, and especially To Pimp a Butterfly, are some of my favourite albums, rap or otherwise. They are just incredible, and I do think this is weaker than those two. I don't think it's bad by any means, of course, otherwise I wouldn't even be here. But it's more focused on a theme, and that means it's a little messier. It doesn't have a story that flows through it. It has themes, and a lot of that is to do with emotion and kind of his mental state. And it seems like he's just getting all of these feelings out as quick and as fast as possible. He's not necessarily going back and refining a bunch of stuff, and maybe to some people that's wonderful. And it does add a sort of rawness there, and there is a rawness to Kendrick in this album that we haven't seen in others. Not nearly as much, or to the extent that you see in something like DNA, or Element for that matter. And it's got Humble, which is one of the best singles of the year. It was huge, it was really catchy, great lyrics. Actually, for such a popular and mainstream track, Kendrick still delivers on that front. And the production, pretty great. It's just not what I really prefer in terms of Kendrick Lamar. I do prefer the jazzy stylings of To Pimp a Butterfly, especially, because that's just my personal preference. But there's no denying the greatness in tracks like DNA and Element, and the masterclass of storytelling that is Duckworth. That is just an incredible track right there. Possibly one of the best of the year, just in terms of that story that is contained within that one track. And arguably that's even more impressive than spreading a story throughout an entire album. But I wasn't as blown away by this album as I was his previous projects. Still love it though. Still deserves to be on the top 10, which is why it's sharing the spot. I just couldn't quite knock it off. I couldn't knock either one of these two off. Don't take my ordering too seriously, because especially with it being music, it all depends on kind of the mood I'm in. It's very difficult to be objective. Obviously top 10 lists are not really objective anyway, but especially for music, it's hard for me to like stick to an order, stick to a list. So hey, honestly, this could be switched out for number 5 at a moment's notice. So please don't take them too seriously, but I think the top couple of albums I'm kind of set in stone as those are my absolute favorites of the year. But beyond that, fucking rearrange them as much as you want. At number 9, we have Algiers, The Underside of Power. Oh my god, what a powerful, appropriately powerful album. Algiers just, they are so good. They have a sound, this gospel, this protest music that you just really can't find in any other band, any other project that I've personally listened to. If you guys know of any other music that's been coming out that is at all like Algiers, then please let me know, because I would love to hear it. But for now, Algiers is just, they're the only ones giving me this, and it is wonderful. I love it. The amazing combination of gospel and kind of hip-hop influences, and just there's plenty of experimentation with these sounds and within them and outside of them. It's just really fucking impressive. Algiers already impressed me with that first one, but this one is just one that I keep going back to more and more, especially Underside of Power. The title track is so good. It's so catchy. Most of the tracks are, but that one especially, I mean, it does the album title justice. And at number 8, it is Perfume Genius with No Shape. One of the most beautiful albums of the year. Just pure beauty in the instrumentation, in the production on this thing. It is stunning in every sense. When tracks really kick into gear, there's just this overflowing, like, kind of ecstasy that it feels like almost only music can provide, at least to such an easy degree, but it's not so easy, and Perfume Genius seems to have mastered it. They're getting that feeling of, oh my god, there's just so many layers to every single track, in terms of obviously the vocals from the man himself. He's just a wonderful vocalist, so unique, so eccentric, and you're not gonna find stuff like this from anyone else. I think he's the closest person I would compare to, say, a modern David Bowie, and that might be blasphemy for some, and I'm not saying his music sounds exactly the same, but in terms of him being an auteur and doing what he wants and just making some fucking fantastic music, Perfume Genius definitely deserves to be on this list. And at number 7, it's SZA with Control. Wow, this came out of nowhere. This album, SZA herself, for me at least, just came out of nowhere. She really fucking impressed me with the singles to this thing, and then as soon as I started that first track, Supermodel, is a beautiful track. I go back to it really probably more often than any of the other tracks, which is funny because it does feel like a very intro track, but it's just so chill, but still with that really interesting topic of the way she's treated by other men, by like lovers and stuff like that, and personally that's really interesting to me, at least in the way that she presents it. The vocals are gorgeous throughout this thing. She's a wonderful singer. God damn, in terms of an album, it is so wonderful and varied, and just so, oh god, it's just such a good R&B album. And it's also got great use of features like Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott specifically. They add to the track so much. They don't like, okay, we're gonna go over here and do our own thing now. And of course they sound very different from SZA, but they stay on the same topic and they meld with her so damn well, way better than I would have expected. And then just like Supermodel was a great way to open up the album, 20-something is a beautiful way to end it. As a person in that age range, it just really hit me in a wonderful way, about how confusing this obviously period of life can be, and you're always trying to find yourself and find maybe what's best for you, the right career path, and all of this stuff. So kind of a tribute to that as the ending to the album was lovely. I absolutely adored it. Sounds great. Give it a listen if you haven't. Rhapsody, Layla's Wisdom. God damn, this thing is good. And it kind of ties back into what I was saying before about my fondness and love for To Pimp a Butterfly. The instrumentation, very clearly inspired by it, and you can tell that she was inspired by Kendrick through, I mean, his feature, the fact that he's on the album, but also she has plenty of lyrics that reference him, and specifically her admiration for him, and sees him getting better, and it seems to push her to do better, and just try and be as good as he is. And to do that, and in my opinion, come out with a better album than Kendrick did in the same year, holy shit, that's really impressive. Kendrick Lamar's album is definitely more mainstream, definitely more appealing, and I do hope that when people listen to that album, they, and you know, become new fans, that they go back and listen to his previous work, that obviously I think is better, but they might have not even heard, because it's not as well known as Damn, because Damn became a phenomenon. But then Layla's Wisdom, holy shit, this is so good throughout, even when it gets to the lovey-dovey tracks towards the end. She just presents them so well and with such confidence, and yet again great lyricism that she has throughout. There's so many bars that you're just like, holy shit, wow, what? You just say that? And maybe you listen to it for the second or third time and then it clicks and you're like, that's what she's saying. And that's when you know it's a really good album, when you get multiple listens out of it, and not only are you, of course, enjoying the great hooks and all of that, but constantly picking up on new lines. And I am basically all the time in this album, and it is so wonderful and so satisfying. And the thing is with this album is that she has plenty of features on it, like Kendrick and Anderson .Paak, but they never outshine her. That's the impressive thing. Rhapsody, nowhere near as well known. She's not got the clout like those two, or even plenty of the others who appear on this. But goddamn, she holds her own against them. They never take the spotlight away from her, I feel. They have great features, sure, but she's just so wonderful and so charismatic throughout that it still really feels like this album is her own. She isn't leaning on other people. She doesn't need to, because as far as I'm concerned, she's the best female rapper currently going. Just great work, and I really can't wait to see what she does next. At number 5, we have Sampha with Process. Process? Well, I think Sampha would say Process because he's a Londoner, and I appreciate him repping the UK in such a beautiful way this year. Oh my god, this album is gorgeous. His singing, his vocals are just heavenly. They really are. He's got such a great range. The high notes that he can hit are so high. And I'm constantly impressed by his just experimental production, but it never goes really too far to detract and distract even from his vocals and his wonderful playing of like piano. Like No One Knows Me Like the Piano is a gorgeous track, and it came along right at the time when I was trying to learn to play the piano, and I don't know, that probably helped put it higher up on this list for sure, because it just really hits you, especially when you're learning something like that, learning a skill, to hear somebody singing about it who has had that skill since childhood or has been developing it, and you can clearly tell throughout this album how well he's developed it, and especially when you see him performing live. So to hear that is quite emotional and quite inspirational in and of itself, and I really do adore this album, front to back. Not a single weak track that I can think of in it. Maybe some ones that are more forgettable, I guess, if you want to call that weak, which is why it isn't like my favourite, but holy shit, it's what a debut album from Sampha. Can't wait to see where this guy goes. He featured a lot on the albums of Subtract, which I highly recommend you guys go check out as well if you like Sampha, and delivered some wonderful features there. So whether it's featuring on another track or having a new album of his own, it'll probably be worth the wait. Number 4 is Big Crit. Forever is a mighty long time. This album is a mighty long time. That was what I said when I saw the length of this album and the fact that it was 2 discs. Before it was even released, I was like, I mean, forever is fucking nothing compared to the length of this album, Jesus. And that was me thinking, you know, he can't deliver a 2-disc album that is good for 2 discs. Very rarely happens, especially in rap nowadays. But goddamn, he did. He did. Both of these discs are individual. They come together really well, but they're so good for completely different reasons. The first disc, some of the best bangers of the year. Big Bank, Subbenstein. God, both of those, one after the other, so wonderful, so wonderful. And the opening track is just, oof, the production, the instrumentation. It is a gorgeous way to open this album. And then it gets even better with this first track of disc 2, which is named after his actual name, which shows how he's going to get a little more personal, which he definitely does in tracks like Drinking Sessions, one of my personal favourites, because goddamn, that is a really, really good track. Reminds me of some of Kendrick Lamar's best work. Just with the sounds of the bottles clinking and stuff, you really feel like he's just talking to you and just spilling his brain about all of the kind of effects that alcohol has had on his life and the impact that it's had. And just very personal topics. And then, you know, if you're not as into that, this one, it's got you sorted. Some really good, very modern stuff that's just handled incredibly well. He's got a ton of different flows that he uses. It's really impressive. And then you've got a track in disc 2, like Keep the Devil Off, which is just an incredibly amazing gospel song, which is like the exact shit that I want to hear. That is exactly what I like. And it's like, he fucking saw into my brain, and I was like, we're gonna do that. And he did it. And it's really long, and it just keeps going. And it's still really good, in my opinion. I don't think it drags itself out. Most other songs I think would, but no. That goes for that song, that goes for this album. Wonderful. If you're not giving Big Crit a chance, give this album a chance. You don't need to listen to any of his other work. Just if you like good rap, you like good production, you like good instrumentation and flow and features, this 2-disc album has it all. Give it a listen. So going from 2 discs to 3 discs. Brockhampton, Saturation 1, 2, and 3. I can't pick one. I think that maybe Saturation 1 is the weakest as an overall album. I can't really decide between 2 and 3. I really can't decide between 2 and 3 in terms of an overall album, but then Saturation 1 has some of my absolute favourite singles on it. I think the opening to that album, one of the best openings to any album I've heard this year, in terms of one track after another, Heat, Star, Gold. Just those 3 tracks alone should be enough to get you into Brockhampton. And hey, tons of people didn't really fuck with Saturation 1, and then they really liked Saturation 2, and then even more so Saturation 3. So who knows? If you start off the first, not really feeling it, move on to the second. You might really love that, like a lot of people seem to do. I was loving it from the very beginning, because goddamn, these guys, such variety, as you'd kind of expect from a group that's like, what, 15 people? Ton of different rappers, ton of different producers. They really experiment and just not only experiment but kind of refine their craft as well. And you can hear that going throughout the albums. They're like tweaking things to make them just sound that little bit better, but maybe not too pristine that it's like super mainstream and boring. It's always interesting. It's always different. There's always something new. And I think, you know, maybe it has a few problems with, I think they could have more of a variety in terms of the people who rap in most of the songs. They kind of rely on Amir, Merlin, and Dom quite a bit. Dom is my favourite, probably, not including Kevin Abstract, who is wonderful on so many of the hooks here. They are so good at making hooks and just catchy music. I can't say enough good things about Brockhampton. They blew everybody away, I think. They didn't just have quantity, they had quality, and that is rare. You can get somebody like Future who comes out with 2 albums 1 week after the other. Still quantity. Mask Off was basically the only super memorable one, at least for me, out of those 2 albums. And then you've got Brockhampton, who come out with 3 albums in the same year, and another one that's on the way, and they just keep going. They just keep going, and they keep making great music, and when I got to the 3rd especially, I was like, but guys, how? How do you still keep coming up with new ideas, with interesting tracks, with hooks that you haven't even replicated or sound even close to similar yet? I mean, a few here and there, but goddamn, it is just incredibly impressive. If nothing else, you gotta respect the feat that they were able to pull, and then end off the year with not only another great album in Saturation 3, but also being Zane Lowe's final guests for the year on the Beats One radio station. That is huge for an independent group that are determined to stay independent, and I hope they do, and I'm sure they will, because they're fucking great. That's Brockhampton. I could say so much more about them, because, I mean, they've got enough music to talk about, but I'll leave it at that. Go listen to the Saturation Trilogy if you haven't. There's a lot of good music to get through there. Then, at number 2, we got Father John Misty with Pure Comedy. I know, right? An album that's not a rap album. Can you believe it? It's not top 10 hip-hop albums, but just damn, hip-hop had a really good year. But Father John Misty did as well. Pure Comedy is kind of like All American Badass in the sense it really does a good job of summing up 2017 and really delving into a lot of different mindsets and fears and concerns, but also some more positive things about the future. It's very introspective, it's very pretentious, not in a way that really annoys me though. It's kind of self-admittedly a little pretentious as well. The instrumentation throughout is so beautiful. It is gorgeous. The layering, the mixing, everything's perfect. At least to me, it really is. His voice is wonderful. I can't say enough good things about this album. It really is. It's just one of those that you can just put on, sit back and listen and just consider a lot of things. Get a little existential, maybe a little bit of dread about 2017 and the future and stuff. But I think overall it ends with a more positive message. That, like, we're stuck like this, let's make the best of it. And that's nice. That's, in the end, that's kind of nice. So at number not 1, so this album I would have put at number 1, but it's not one that I ever really want to return to. I might like one more time to experience what it delivers again. It's not really what I would usually consider as a number 1 pick, because it's not fun to listen to, it isn't even all that pleasant to listen to, it is heartbreaking, and that is Mount Airy, A Crow Looked at Me. Mount Airy's been making music for quite a long time, and I've not really been keeping up with it so much. Didn't get into Mount Airy until fairly recently, and then all of a sudden his wife dies, and he makes this heart-wrenching album about it that just hurts to listen to. It really does, because you can hear the pain in the vocals. The lyrics are like poetic, but not really trying to be. I don't know. They just kind of are. And yeah, it's a hard listen. But if you have it in you to listen to somebody basically singing / talking about one of the worst things that could possibly happen to them, it's an experience, and I do think it's one of the best, if not the best album of the year because of that. But goddamn, do I never really want to listen to it again, because I was crying throughout quite a bit of it. It's really painful to listen to, and that's a testament to it. That really is a testament to how raw the emotion that he has conveyed on here is, because it really is raw. It's possibly the most raw album I've ever heard, and yeah, listen if you dare, but if you want to be happy, this ain't the one. And then at my definite number 1, my favourite album of the year, the album that I probably listened most to, that blew me away the most, that really came out of nowhere, was Tyler the Creator's Flower Boy. Never been huge into Tyler the Creator. I've liked some of his stuff, but he was a little too edgy for me. I don't know, I was never at the age, I think when I probably was at the age where I would have enjoyed him more was when I wasn't into hip-hop as much, so I never really got into him. And then he comes out with this, with an album that is so incredibly personal that he's literally coming out about his sexuality on it. As much as people seem to want to deny that, it's pretty clear through a track like Garden Shed that he is, and that he's quite serious about it. And it's delivered in a beautifully poetic way, with just wonderful production. I know we use that word a lot, but goddamn, the production on this album that Tyler does all himself, which deserves extra credit and respect, is gorgeous. It is probably my favorite in terms of instrumental backing tracks, whatever you want to say, of the year. It really is wonderful. It's just got a great mix of so many things, from stuff like Boredom, 911 Mr. Lonely, that sort of neo-soul experience, and then you've got bangers like Who Dat Boy and Ain't Got Time, which, you know, Tyler's known for his bangers, but he's only got two. But they're still two of the best of the year, in my humble opinion. They are so good. So it makes it worth getting to them. And the entire concept of the album on a car ride is executed wonderfully, with all the little bits and pieces of the story, if you want to call it that, at the beginning and end of tracks. That theme is carried throughout and is done really well, and really adds to the whole kind of introspective nature of it, and you know, thinking about life and yourself, and even like what you're driving, right? He does have a lot of references to cars and materialistic things, but it's not necessarily showing off about it. It might be at times, but then you kind of come to realize it's not making him all that happy. He seems to care more about it now, but then he admits himself, is it really worth it? Am I just getting this stuff to try and pretend? Oh, because it you know, the fun of getting it, but then, you know, I just go back and I'm bored, or have people not calling me and stuff, and that in itself is quite sad. And despite the braggadocious lyrics at times about cars and about his mansion and stuff, you do, or at least I did, you really start to empathize with him, and that was really surprising to kind of find this empathy there that I didn't expect to find in Tyler, the Creator, of all people. I really didn't. Of all the rappers to have come out this year with an album, I wouldn't have said that, oh hey, no, I really relate to what Tyler, the Creator, is going through, or I get it, or I really feel bad for him. I really hope he gets through it, because I never really cared about him too much beforehand. And then he just comes out with this, and like, holy shit. I think obviously, like with a lot of music, it's because it came to me at a point where I kind of really needed it, and I needed to hear something that was as relatable as this is. And I do think that Boredom is probably my favorite song of the year, if only because of this bit. It's so good. That musical moment just gives me tingles and this sense of euphoria that I don't think I've ever gotten from any other music before. I might have gotten it from a couple of other things, especially when combined with visuals, you know, stuff in movies. But that track, Boredom, quite reliably gave me tingles and this just weird sensation that I loved, and it was almost like drugs. It was really strange, because when I first listened to it, I was like, whoa, holy shit, I didn't expect it to break down like that. That it just sounds great. It's the groovy type of shit that I just love. It's exactly my sort of sound. I don't know, it's a really weird feeling to describe, but it gave me it, and it's one of the best albums of the year. Not a single weak track on this thing. Not even the track with Lil fucking Wayne. I don't really like Lil Wayne, but goddamn, Dropping Seeds, really solid short track. Pretty funny lyrics from Lil Wayne. I mean, I know he's like supposed to be a funny guy anyway, but legitimately just a fun little track from him. The only thing that I'd say is maybe a weakness is the final track is just an instrumental. But the instrumental, while as good as it is, I don't think is necessarily the most satisfying ending to it. But it just like kind of that bit in boredom gives a sense of finality or like contentness. Like content, isn't it nice? You know, just be happy about today and the future, as hard as it might be. But just kind of enjoy it, you know, and that's really pleasant, and it's a lovely message and super heartfelt lyrics. Maybe they're not delivered as heartfelt as you might expect because it's Tyler the Creator, but goddamn, when you look into those lyrics, you're like, there's a lot of emotion behind here and a lot of conflict within the guy, and it's similar conflict to what a lot of us already go through, and that's pretty great. I think that's really wonderful, how much he's matured through it, and how lovingly open and honest he was with his audience on this thing. You gotta respect that. You have to respect that. Whether you like it or not, the respect is due. The respect is due to Tyler the Creator for this fantastic album. My album of the year. I want to know what your guys' is as well, though. And also, do you like this format? Do you think it should be changed up? How? In what way? We're going to do films and games as well, of course. I just need to watch a few more films and complete a few more games before I'm fully content with those lists, the way I am with albums. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Really personal list of mine. Obviously, music is especially personal to a lot of people, because like Flower Boy did for me, things can just come in at the right time. And hey, if fucking 21 Savage is like Issa album or whatever the hell it was, if that came along at just the right time for you, then I'd love to know. Please leave your thoughts, opinions on my list, give your own, all that stuff in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon for another one.